Hey, what do you say? It's Full Press Hockey Weekly here on Twitter.com/Full Press NHL and Twitch.tv/Full Press Coverage, YouTube.com, Facebook.com/Full Press Coverage. Anywhere we want to be, we are there. Mike Straw here alongside, as always, with Jim Behringer, Chris Wassel. Guys, a little later than normal. We're starting the show, but we're all here. We're ready to talk some hockey. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Tuesday, we're here talking some hockey. A lot of interesting things going around in the league. And, so we're back.
Good to be back, guys. I mean, hard to believe that it's, 2.5 weeks till Christmas, guys?
I know,
Yeah,
crazy.
that's going to be
crazy.
some fun.
There's mass chaos, and then there's, what's kind of happened this week?
I was going to say there's mass chaos, and then there's mask chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom! We're on a roll.
Oh, yeah, we're on a roll.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Our show's going to take up pretty much one main topic, but there's a lot that we're going to dive right into. We started it last week, and we're kicking things off with what you might have missed. The smaller stories that we're not really going to dive fully into, but we'll kick things off with the IIHF confirming that China, the host country of the 2022 Winter Olympics, will be in a group. And this group that they are putting China in consists of Germany, who are no slouches anymore.
No.
This country called Canada.
The reigning champs, by the way.
And the United States in hockey. So that's a thing that's going on. They shouldn't field a team. I get why they are because of the host country, but even in a normal year, especially in a normal year, so say 8 years ago,
yeah,
you'd be throwing your arms. Even in the non-NHLer Olympics of 4 years ago, you are still not fielding a team and putting them in that group.
No.
This is just to get embarrassed. If they don't add a mercy rule, then you're just these games are going to be outlandish. There's no doubt that I guarantee the friends on USA and Canada will have side bets of bet we can score 15, bet we can score 16, bet we could score 17. It's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. But that's where we're at with that. I mean, you guys have any different thoughts on how big of a joke
get your props ready, Jim.
Now, I'm getting my props ready. You know it, baby. I'm going to get my props ready for those games. But it's crazy because, like you said, it doesn't matter who is on those teams, whether it's Olympians, NHLers, doesn't matter who it is, college kids. It's going to be, should I say, World Junior-esque, if not worse, for China with that group. I mean,
it's going to be way worse, especially if professional NHL players ultimately go.
Oh, way, way, way worse. But those are the rules because in group play you got to run the score up because hey, you could finish first and it's cross. You have the cross quarterfinals and everything like we see in the World Juniors. So I mean, look, personally, I wish Norway would have been in that slot. At least they'd be a little bit more competitive. It's still the group of death when it comes
100%.
to.
I think any when it comes to hockey, if USA and Canada are in the same group, it's a group of death, no matter what. Even you can make it a case for if it contains Russia, Finland, or Sweden as well. But in hockey, you have those 5 countries, and then on the off chance, Germany again, no slouch anymore. Switzerland always finds a way to compete. You just have these countries that just Belarus 1 year. I mean, when the Kostitsins were playing, obviously they were a lot bigger of a name and a bigger fight of the country. Austria when Vanek.
But Austria's still good if
they're still good.
Yeah, I mean,
still good.
These teams are way, way better than China.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You can put out Kazakhstan right now, and they're gonna dominate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Even if they decide to lace up and throw out 40-something-year-old Nick Antropov out on the ice.
Yeah, they still do better.
Wow,
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, look, Germany. Everybody forgets Germany is the silver medalist from 4 years ago in
And
men's
arguably
ice
could have won
hockey,
it.
and probably could. And as you say, Chris probably could have won it. So I mean, so you have those three teams, and you have the host country, and I understand why and everything, but it's just gonna be a goal scoring fest, dude. I mean, we could probably put it out right now. Over under goals they score in those tournament games, total maybe 5, maybe,
Maybe. Yeah, if
maybe,
that.
maybe.
Yeah, we're working on that prop right now, Jim.
All
So
right.
it's coming.
All
Aside
right.
from the Olympics, there's this player known as Jack Eichel. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him.
Did he play
Played
in
for
Buffalo?
Rings
I
a
think he played with the
bell.
Sabres for a little bit, and then he got finally traded. Had the surgery he want. Back on the ice
Already.
in a non-contact, but he's back on the ice with Vegas. There are talks that we're looking at maybe 3 to 4 weeks, and he's back. The idea of him coming back right before the Olympic break is weird. I think at the end of the day, he comes back. He doesn't play his first game until after the Olympic break because it gives him that full month of the Olympic and All-Star break and everything of not having to worry about it. And then he comes back in March for a playoff push, and Vegas is just through the roof happy to see him back on the ice. And to be fair, he was skating before the surgery. He was seen skating all the time in Boston over the summer. He's kept on the ice and kept in shape. But to see him back on the ice after he had the surgery is no doubt a good sign for fans in Vegas. It makes a lot of Buffalo fans very upset, rightfully so, seeing as how bad they botched that situation. But because even if he wasn't going to remain a Sabre, he gets that surgery, they see him skating on the ice, you get a bigger haul when you know he's back on the ice after having that surgery. So Vegas is in a good spot. Eichel's back. There's nothing really more to that other than, if you're a Vegas fan, you're happy. But we're gonna jump right into the biggest news of the last few days. And it all falls under the same thing. 2 teams, playoff aspirations, expected to make leaps. One made a very questionable trade over the summer.
Don't.
And both new head coaches. One of them, completely new general manager. We'll start with the team in Vancouver that completely cleared house. We'll Jim Benning, Travis Green, out. In is a search for a new GM, and we'll talk about a reported name that they seem to be interested in. That it's to me, as soon as I saw it, I audibly howled in laughter.
Oh boy.
And in as coach, really quickly, no interim, nothing, is Bruce Boudreau. Which, when you know what type of coach Bruce Boudreau is, and then you know they have Elias Pettersson, it immediately piques your interest and goes, "Oh boy, here we go." Because I expect that combination. Boudreau is a very good offensive coach, we know. But Vancouver, they come in, they're expected to compete. They make the big trade. They get OEL. He's not the same player he was, obviously, but he's still a solid player. And then they find themselves last place in a very, very, what we expected to be poor Pacific Division. Granted, this was before knowing how Anaheim would start their season, how San Jose would start their season.
How Calgary would start their season.
Calgary
wins all the road games,
fantastic. Edmonton is Edmonton. Seattle is, with Dave Hextall as coach, exactly where we all thought he'd be, because we all know my thoughts on Hextall. And we'll get into his former team in a minute. But Vancouver sitting there as of tonight, entering play overall, 9-15-2, 20 points. They have the same amount of points as they are currently behind in the standings. They have the same amount of points as the Chicago Blackhawks, who started the season as bad as any team in the league. And it's just a miserable time up there in Vancouver. They did get their first win under Boudreau, 4-0 win against the Kings. But, Chris, we'll start with you. Green and Benning gone. Your first thoughts? Like, about time? They waited too long, too soon? What do you thought? What were you thinking?
It's weird because And I read this a few days ago, and it's kind of like at first you sat there and like nah, and then it was like you read a couple articles, and it's like this is starting to grow on me a little bit. It's like, wow, a guy can actually deserve to be fired yet not deserve to be fired, and that's almost as the case of Travis Green. There were certain things where it's like, well, yeah, the personnel's awful. The players are checking out. I mean, Elias Peterson was dreaming of Sweden or something, whatever world he's been in for the past month.
Yeah, we'll talk
I mean,
about
God only knows, or what went on in the locker room that we don't know. We're not privy to at all. But either way, something was just so far off in that locker room that you had to do something, and yet it wasn't all Green's fault. And yet you couldn't dispute certain things, like the penalty kill is devil's bad. Let's be honest. I
Is it
mean,
worse than Devil's Band though?
no,
No.
because we've been kind of lucky this year.
Right.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that too eventually. They're not getting off easily tonight. Because trust me, that's the move that should have been frickin' made already this week. But that's besides the point. No, we're year, etc. But look, Vancouver below 65% penalty kill suddenly could barely scratch across 2 goals a game, and I mean barely. I mean, this was something that we thought maybe the Anaheim Ducks would have trouble doing all year, not the Vancouver Canucks. And it's ironic because they were generating some scoring chances and shots on goal. I mean, if you look at some of the possession numbers of, say, like a Brock Besser, etc., they had some solid numbers, and you thought, wow, something really is not adding up here. So bringing in Boudreau last night, by the way, guys, Besser and Miller combined 2 shots on goal, by the way, 2 goals. Just saying. Just strange but true how things work. But it was a move that needed to be done. Benning needed to be gone probably, a year ago? I mean, arguably. Yeah. I mean, maybe longer than that even. It's one of those like weird things where it's like, the move that's got to be made, and Travis Green almost became just sort of the casualty in the move. It's like you had to make the move with the move.
What about you, Jim?
I kind of agree with Chris on this. I mean, look, something had to be done in Vancouver for sure, no doubt. To me, I feel like Travis Green was kind of like a mercy firing. You felt bad for the guy every time he took the podium, like just answering questions, and it's just like no answers are there. I mean, it's not as bad as like in Chicago before Jeremy Colleton calls timeout and has the players draw up his own play to figure out what's going on the rink before he gets fired. But it's just something that they needed to do to just move the team in the right direction. Look, Benny was able to make these moves, and they should have paid off. Like, look, they got rid of a lot of bad contracts, and Connor Garland's worked out well for them. And JT Miller under Travis Green was playing well. He was one of the best players. Quinn Hughes was turning around, but Elias Pettersson hasn't gotten going. Maybe Boudreau, we've known what he can do with skilled players. Let's see if he can get going. Bo Horvat, Brock Besser. Those are the guys they need if this team's going to turn it around this season. I mean, look, in a shortened season, I say, write it off. But we have seen coaching changes happen in an 82-game regular season, and teams go on runs and somehow come from the depth of the standings and make a run and make the playoffs.
We saw Pittsburgh when they hired Mike Sullivan go from bottom of the league, literally last, and win the cup.
St. Louis Blues.
St. Louis Blues with Craig Berube.
Yeah.
Bottom of the league. They make the change. Berube comes in. They find the hottest of hot goaltenders for that year, granted, but they still made the change when it needed to be made. But then you have teams that hang on way too long, and not saying it would have done anything, but then you look last year, you look at Buffalo, 17 straight losses, and it took 17 of them to fire Ralph Krueger instead of, after 8 or 9 or 10 in a row, it took 17 of them. So you got some teams that wait too long, some teams that do it too soon. I feel like Vancouver, personally, they didn't that they, like you brought up their terrible penalty kill. Their power play is not much better. They're over 3 goals against a game. Like they I feel like they had to, like, yeah, you said Travis Green, kind of a mercy thing. He just never seemed, for me, he always seemed to be in over his head. He never, when things were going right, it was really easy because the only reason things were going right is because Pettersson's shot percentage was at an unsustainable pace. Besser, unsustainable pace. Like, that's when things were going right for Vancouver. It wasn't the fact of Green making having the matchups on the ice throughout the game be what they need to be. It wasn't him making the pairings that needed to be made on the blue line. It wasn't his mixing of the lines or whatever. It was unsustainable shooting percentages for the most part. And when that stopped, you kind of saw, to me, Green as a coach in over his head, who, not saying he won't work out eventually as an NHL head coach, but this is a guy kind of like, to me, a Dallas Eakin. I thought when Eakin was with Edmonton, he was in way over his head. He just didn't know how to handle line management and make the adjustments. And I kind of feel that same way with Green, where maybe going down to the AHL as a head guy, get some more time and figure things out. Granted, it's not like he hasn't put in his time, but it just doesn't seem he's there when it comes to making the adjustments a head coach needs to be able to make. Maybe as an assistant, he's fine, but he's not. He never seemed comfortable in that role. You talked about him behind the whole podium. Behind the bench, he never seemed like he was on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I mean, you bring up Dallas Eakins, and, with the Edmonton thing, it's such a shame because Eakins is such a good coach when he came into that position already.
Yeah.
And I think it was just the wrong team for him. They just didn't have the pieces, goaltending, defense. And like you said, he goes down, he goes through the Anaheim system, and good for him what he's doing with the Ducks right now. And he's showing, what, he is a legitimately good coach, and he was the scapegoat there in Edmonton and everything. So, you know what, I'm glad he's doing well. Travis Green is going to find his place someplace.
100%.
Like,
he'll
he's
bounce
not.
back.
He's going to bounce back. He may even find a job this year. Who knows? Way coaching carousels work. But
Devils could
maybe,
use a coach.
like you said, maybe he rides in as an assistant somewhere, and then works his way up. Maybe he goes down to the A and just hones his game a little bit more. We talk about players honing their game. Maybe like what Eakins did. Hone your game as a coach. Know how to make the in-game adjustments through the period. Watch the video. Know when to call the timeouts. Don't be afraid to make changes just because they're your star players. You don't have to put them, always got to play them top minutes. I mean, look what Rick Bowness has done in Dallas. I put Jamie Benn on the fourth line. Oh my God, Jamie Benn's on the fourth line. Well, you know what? If that's where he needs
If it
to
works,
play,
it works.
It works. So, I mean, I think that's the things he needs to do going forward. But I think he's still a good coach because everybody forgets this team was 1 game away from going to the Western Conference Final in the bubble.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, I don't put a lot of credence into the bubble. The bubble
Right.
is still a bigger tournament, but at the end of the day, I just don't put a lot of stake into how they were. That was the only time he made the playoffs. I mean, he missed in 50% of his seasons coaching Utica. He missed the playoffs. He made it to the Calder Cup final once and lost in there. He did win. He did make it when he was with Portland to the Memorial Cup when he was head coach there. But yeah, I think some more time in the A. If he wants, he'll be. I ultimately think he ends up as an assistant, though, in the NHL as his next stop. Maybe then going from assistant back down to, if he wants to be a head coach, he goes back to the A and then moves up. But someone's going to put him on the bench because he is a very smart hockey person. If he's put in charge of a position, you throw him, I think, managing, like, in charge of your defense. I think he can do well. I just don't think he is at that place to be a head man. I even though he wasn't, like, the way he played on the ice, the way it sets it up to be a good defensive minded coach. But we're also in a league that, how far is that going to get you anymore?
That's true. It's true. I mean, but still, you could still play good defensive hockey and win. I mean, you're still going to need the goals.
In the
but,
playoffs, you're going to need that. In the playoffs,
exactly.
It's shown. If it was all about offense, Edmonton would have won the cup.
Toronto would have won the cup.
Yeah.
So
Tampa had that perfect mix the last 2 years of stop. I mean, Dallas made it to the final in the bubble because of defense.
right,
Plain and
exactly.
simple.
And all their offense came from defense outside of Pavelski.
Yeah.
And guys,
Yeah,
we didn't.
Pavelski found the fountain of youth in there too. So yeah.
And guys we can't pronounce their names of, but
Yeah, it's him. But also, and we'll move from the coaching to, because before we moved from the coaching, Bruce Boudreau, he's been in Anaheim, he's been in Minnesota, he's been around. He's a brilliant offensive guy that, again, like we just talked about, his defensive coaching has always been suspect, and that's why, and his decisions on who to run with and the mat line, the pairings there, and that's always been the Achilles heel come playoff time. Is this going to change?
Frederick Anderson went belly up on him bad.
Yeah,
it's sad because that's actually the one year that he probably had the best shot at winning a cup. And literally, Frederick Anderson in Game 5, 6, and 7. I think the closest thing I could come to it in sports, guys, is John Stark's Game 6 and Game 7 against the Houston Rockets, where he just completely nobody knows what happened. And it's just a complete mystery how players just sometimes vanish in moments like that. And he just mentally and physically just unraveled.
Yeah. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you're in Boudreau's position?
No,
you can't.
He has
you're at the mercy of the players. And that happens. That might have been the closest and the best chance he's had to a cup. I thought at times in Minnesota that team was finally going to get there.
Well, I mean, look at the Washington teams. But look at the Washington teams that fell short to Pittsburgh how many times? Those teams are pretty good too.
But every coach seems to have that Achilles heel team.
Yeah.
Boudreau, that's why, if you noticed, after Washington, he just decides, I'm coaching out West.
Yeah.
Coaching in the West. I'm avoiding Pittsburgh. There are Achilles heel teams. I'm a firm believer of that. No matter who the coach is of that team, you just can't figure it out. And it builds into your head and it eats at you. And it got to the point where he might have just overthought everything and just buried himself because he tried to do too much to counteract the Pittsburgh battle.
It was weird because Boudreau could beat Pittsburgh in the regular season. And then just, I don't know what happened in the playoffs, but he's a good coach and he's going to be a good fit for Vancouver. I believe so. He's going to get some of those guys rolling there. So, you know what? Look for Boudreau. Yeah. You know, obviously, I think he's 2-year contract, 16 months, whatever it is. He'll be there. You know, maybe they look outside of Boudreau once, you know, his contract comes up. But let's see what they do. Still a lot of hockey left for this Canucks team.
Exactly. And that's the best part to do it. They did it early enough in the season where Vancouver can easily, and when I say easily, because of the volatility that is the Pacific, get in there for that for a spot there. I mean, they're only above Arizona in the West right now, but being 8 points out of a playoff spot at this point in the season isn't the end of the world.
No.
Mm-hmm. But moving to the management side of things, right? Jim Benning never seemed to make the right moves. Not one. I can't think of a single move he made that made me go, Vancouver got better.
I could think of one.
Him being fired?
Well, besides that's
that was my
I'm not
one
even a Canucks
my
fan. And I feel the vitriol and understand Canucks fans with their frustration with that and how upset and angry they are.
Benning was there when they drafted Demko, right?
Yes.
All right, so, I mean, obviously they didn't sign Markstrom, but that's because Demko, again, the bubble and all that stuff. But Demko was the future of that team in between the pipes. He was coming, and the writing was on the wall. The way Markstrom's been playing for the Flames this year, though, Vancouver fans are just like, you know, you couldn't have just paid this guy a little bit more money. Like, we could have waited for Demko. We could have waited.
Yeah, though Markstrom is having a year, I don't even care how much of a fan you were of him in Vancouver. No one saw this coming. No one. No one. And if you did, you're a liar. But
Yeah.
I get wanting him to stay. Like hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, Benning just never.
Mr. Paul Bearer, he always just looked like, had the Paul Bearer look going, the quote, the WWF style with the Undertaker. So
Yeah.
slick back hair. I mean,
no.
but I mean, some of his moves were just questionable. Like I said, you get Connor Garland with the Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That seems to be working, but he inherited some bad contracts. He signed some bad contracts. It's 50-50. And, the way the whole negotiations went with Hughes and Pedersen, it's just things started to add up for Benning. And it's like you have to wipe the slate clean because he's not getting another coach. Once you hire one and then you have to hire a second, your days are number two. So, the owner's just like, they'll just get everybody out of here.
Yeah, and now they have new management coming in to ultimately search for. They named Stan Smile, however you want to pronounce his name. It's just a fantastic spelled name.
It is. It really is.
I absolutely love it. There's certain names I look at, I'm like, it's so different and unique. I love it. So he's named interim GM. He's not going to be there.
No.
There's no way.
No.
The name rumored as they're interested in just got fired a week and a half ago. And it's Mark Bergevin from formerly of the Montreal Canadiens.
Who bubbled their way to almost winning the Stanley Cup.
And no, we all know why. It was the legendary Philip Deneau. But
Pizza Man,
who's now
Bergevin is being talked there. We know they're going to talk to him. The league, NHL is the king of retreads when it comes to coaching and everything. NHL will be the retread king of any major professional sport in North America.
Forever.
And it's not even close. But this one, if I just said I feel bad and I felt the vitriol for dealing with Jim Benning, if I'm a Canucks fan, I woke up this morning and I saw this, I'm even more pissed. Like, what are you doing? They need. I'm at the point with teams, and I say this every time. I was never upset when, keep it with Buffalo for a minute. I was never upset when they hired Tim Murray and the moves he was making because they didn't work out. But man, did he try to make some ballsy moves. He tried his damnedest.
It's true. He did. Yeah, he tried.
Jason Boudreau, analytic mind, everybody praised him as being the next star of the next star GM in the league when the Sabres hired him, and everybody thought it was a good hire because of where he came from in Pittsburgh. Okay. Kevin Adams, unknown commodity type of thing, never been in this position. Give it a shot. I will always be open to giving people a shot. That's why the more I keep coming around, we talked about it, and I was kind of on the Danny Briere thing in Montreal. But, at this point, screw it. Do it. There's also talks after our show last week, of Roberto Luongo possibly being a candidate, which is hilarious to me. But at this point, try it. It can't get any worse than what you've had. This is a league where I just get tired of seeing the same faces come in after. There's a reason they got canned. It's not like they left on their own terms. They're getting canned for terrible results. It's not like it's a coach who is trying to work with the hand they're dealt. Like that, I can see there's more excuses for retreads, in my opinion. GMs, especially ones that come from organizations where there's no real restrictions and it's do what you can to win a cup, and you fail to put a roster together to do that, that's when I start to get really mad about the idea of same faces.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I mean, some of the names that are coming back around for Vancouver, Mike Gillis might even come back.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that name come around, to see if they can just write something, because the owner wants structure. He wants the management structure you see with a lot of teams, where you have an executive vice president of hockey operations, a general manager, assistant general manager, so on and so forth. They want structure there. That way one guy isn't making all the decisions. And I get that. So there's, you see what's going on in Toronto and stuff like that. So I get it. But as you said, Mike, I agree with you. The retread names, the same guys. Why isn't other people's names coming up? Why can't they find other people that can do the same job and just take a shot at it? Like,
Yeah.
why not?
At this point, you're going to hear tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up and it's going to be Vancouver interested in Brian Burke's return. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa. But, and yet,
I'm over it. I'm so over it. That's my soapbox of the night is I'm over retreads. And we got to move on.
we've got more coaches that got fired.
We got another coach that got canned.
You're
Who's coming? Who? I don't know. Maybe every Rangers fan, every Canucks fan, every member of a knowledgeable member of hockey media. Alain Vigneault didn't work out in Philly.
Nope.
Not as bad as Dave Haxtell, because Dave Haxtell to me is a just god awful coach. He'd go back to college where he had success, but no. Alain Vigneault canned. They're coming in. That was a team that had higher expectations than Vancouver. We all thought this team would go as far as where Carter Hart could take them, or at least I did when we did our previews in the offseason. Carter, it's not even as far as Carter Hart can take them right now. No one's taking them anywhere. Like Carter Hart, when you have this goalie, a young goalie that's really finally given the chance, and he's posting a sub-3 goals against, a 9, last I checked, it was like 909 or 910 or whatever it is, save percentage. When a young goalie giving his first run as being the guy, like a first true run, no debate, and he's putting up those numbers for you, and you have players like a Cam Atkinson, like a Claude Giroux, and you can't figure out how to make it work, that is where I immediately go, you are such a problem that you shouldn't be a coach again. We all know he'll get hired again because the League of Retreads. But Couturier, Konechny, Derek Brassard isn't like, it's just this entire team. I don't know if they just didn't like playing for him. And Chris, I'll go to you with this. You could tell I'm passionate about coaches, and this is like the most we did been in a show.
Yeah.
So long. But Chris, I'll go to you. Like, did it show signs of them just not wanting to play for him? Or is it a case of maybe the talent just doesn't have what it takes?
I have the dumber theory on this, and I'm sure Philly fans are just going to love hearing this. Linda Ronstadt had a really good song, simply called You're No Good. And unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I mean, look, Claude Giroux is an extremely talented player. There is no question about that on any God's green earth or whatever. But as a captain, you're no good, you're no good.
He's always a player that would be like a great Malkin to a Crosby.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to
wrong
that.
with that because look at Malkin. Likely Hall of Fame career. He's likely a first ballot surefire Hall of Famer. No question. Multiple Stanley.
Still put him on the top 100 list, even though
how
that happened.
Yeah, but how he gets left off, I don't know.
Multiple Stanley Cups. Like, if I could say, hey, you're going to be an NHL star, you're not going to be the guy, but you're going to be number 2, have a great career, likely Hall of Fame. I'll take that. Messier to Gretzky. Are you kidding me? Give me that.
That's not bad.
That's
Messier,
not bad at all.
Like, Giroux was never that guy.
No,
he
was
never will. But I mean, he had the one season. Everybody knows, obviously, he had the 2012 season. Jim and I know this personally. Or there's the not so amusing thing that I ran into. One of my first beat assignments was the 2012 Flyers Devils playoff series, and I guess I caught him on a bad time, whatever. And the answer I got, Russ Cohen was right behind me at the time. And I looked at Russ and I shook my head and I'm like, nope. I was like, and even 9 years later, it's like, how is this guy still in Philadelphia? Because I mean, look, again, not the talent. The talent is there. It's the leadership. There 100%. Is no accountability whatsoever at times on this team. And there's a team
Bunch
that
of
we could
this.
sneak in. Yeah. A lot of finger pointing.
A lot of finger
And-
pointing, but when people point fingers, this is the most cliche shit I'll ever say. There's still 3 pointing right back at you when you point.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
It's true.
But I mean, it's just one of those things. It didn't work out there. Now, also the thing that you have to consider too is not just the fact that you had Vigneault there, but you also had Michel Therrien. That was just as bad. I mean,
They never
never really meshed.
They
No.
never got coaches that actually knew how to work with these types of players.
But wait a minute. There's the punchline in all this. Guess who freaking stays?
Mike Yo.
Maybe a guy even worse than Dave Hextall, if that is possible. So much so that Yo had his own joke from Yo Gabba Gabba, of all places, in St. Louis before he got fired. That's how bad it got.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not getting any better in Philadelphia.
No, it's not. And
saving
look, I
grace-
watched the game last night, and it looked like something out of straight up pond hockey.
The only saving grace is that Yo at least has the interim tag. There's no way he's made the permanent.
No.
Unless they win the cup. But if they win the cup, they don't care.
Right.
Should he still be the permanent? No.
No.
We all know that. But he is a guy
He's a filler.
Yeah, he's filler. There's no way. But I don't. This is where Philly is gonna get me mad. They took the chance with Hextall. It was a terrible chance. I thought it then. I think it now. I think he is a terrible coach. But because they got burnt so bad, they're gonna dip back into the retread well with this next hire. It just feels like it.
You think so?
I mean, look, the obvious name out there is Rick Tocchet.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Here we
It's gonna
go.
happen. Well, of retreads, I guess he's the one that you're okay with because he had Arizona.
I mean,
But-
There's no way I will be ever okay
Well,
with that scum of the universe.
I get what you mean on that.
He should still be in a New Jersey jail somewhere.
But
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
one of those types of things when it comes to another player, though. Another coach. He's another coach that's not going to mesh. Take away that stuff. He's not going to mesh.
I mean, there's only so many suicide laps that Rick Tocchet can look. We saw it in Arizona with him and John McClain, and oh my God,
it was bad.
It was bad, and you don't expect it to be much better in Philadelphia, with the media scrutiny going to be at a level that's probably 10 or 20 times worse.
We've already seen people go, what about John Tortorella? Let the dude enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
2, I love hearing him just talk trash
On
television
ESPN,
now.
it's great. It's the best.
It's exactly what I've always wanted from him.
Yes.
Give that guy a 5-minute rant section on ESPN Plus once a week. Go off on whatever you want.
You know what's sad, guys? He could probably do it every day and not lose his breath once.
No, he probably could. I mean, literally, ESPN found their. I mean, you want to say the name? They found their Don Cherry. They did with Tortorella. He's so perfect for them. But but the thing is, will the owner now have to take a look at the general manager, at Chuck Fletcher, because
Chuck Fletcher was. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too.
That's another
because
issue.
the moves that he made this offseason, this team should have gotten better, and they gave a lot up for guys. I'm not saying like the Atkinson deal. That was a 1-for-1 with Voracek.
That deal I actually really loved for both.
That was a
I
smart
like that deal. That's
Voracek-
a smart deal.
Yeah, Atkinson was working in Columbus. It's not like he wanted out of Columbus.
No.
But Philly needed a change. Voracek wanted out of
Philly.
And he's at a team that is using him the way he likes. He's having a blast. You can tell on the ice, even though Columbus is very up and down, he's at least looking like he's enjoying himself for the first time in a while on the ice when you watch him play. Atkinson is just good. Like he's just a very good, serviceable player.
Mm-hmm.
But the Fletcher for that deal, and then you make a boneheaded move like a first for Ristolainen.
Yeah.
Ow,
And then what you gave up for
That
Ellis,
makes Kevin Adams, for whatever he didn't get for Eichel, a genius.
right, but then you give up whatever you gave up to get Ryan Ellis, who's hurt, and that doesn't help Philly's defense because
Not at all.
they wanted Ellis to be like one of their cornerstone pieces. They get rid of Gostisbehere. Okay, that's fine. But still, they're just not. And good. The goaltending is actually not an issue this year. Carter Hart and Martin Jones, I think they're both
No,
playing fine.
Hart
I
is doing
think,
as good as you could have asked him right now.
and I think you guys nailed it. I think the elephant in the room is Claude Giroux. I think Philadelphia needs to trade him before the end of the year. And I know he's a pending unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. I don't think he's coming back to Philly. And if he is, then there's problems because he just doesn't seem to have the leadership qualities necessary to be a captain. Chris and I both know it. When Elias was made the captain of the Devils, he just wasn't the same player. Once that came off his sweater, he was the same guy he always was before that. So, maybe they just picked the wrong guy. Sometimes it's always about picking the right guy to be a captain, and maybe Giroux isn't that guy, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him traded.
No, me neither. And when we talk about coaches, so let's quickly talk about coaches that are available.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the names that have come up, there's like a mix. Now, I still believe they go retread. And the name, for some reason, if it's not Tocchet, a name would a Claude Julien, despite his health issues, would he take the shot? Maybe. I don't think he should.
No.
I don't think that's something you want to see. Do they reach out to Patrick Waugh, who had a couple good years in Colorado, but I still feel they go retread route. But there's one name that I feel could be a swoon of a coach, and when he gets that NHL shot, it is going to be, to me, as incredible, and whatever team gets him is going to be lucky. It's kind of how I feel about every time someone takes Gerard Gallant, because each time he's been let go, I've wondered why.
And he's showing,
He repeats to show every time.
Early, and he's gotten very, very lucky. The regression is coming in New York, whether they want to admit it or not. It's just a question of, remember the one year when Mika Zibanejad just went off on this ridiculous tear?
Yeah.
And basically they kind of ran out of season before he fell off the earth. It's going to kind of be like that for the Rangers this year. They're gonna go on this run.
I personally, I'm so high on Gallant as a coach. I don't see it.
He doesn't. No.
But
there's something off there. You can't put like actual words to it, but there is something
words
about
to it
him
because it's not there.
It's there. We saw it.
Okay.
We saw it in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think that was to be honest, I think that was a panic move, to be honest.
Yeah, Vegas definitely. Florida, I could hear that argument. Vegas, I think panic.
There's something to it, and maybe it's locker room. We don't know.
But
there's something.
The one coach that whatever of the NHL team eventually swoons him and gets him to jump across the pond.
Oh boy, we're going Sweden.
We're going.
Gronberg. We're going Sweden.
Whatever team he gets is going to have the coach steal of a century of the last 20 plus years in my mind, because it's going to be, I don't know. And he's so good. Like, he talked with Buffalo, decided, he's that good of a coaching prospect to me, where he's like, I'll go to when I see the opportunity I want. You go, bye-bye.
Well, Chris and I both know the team up the turnpike wants him and wants him bad.
Bad. I mean, this has been something that's been talked about for probably about 2+ years, Mike.
And how incredible would it be for Philly?
You never know.
Unfortunately,
because we kind of have that feeling. Yeah, we kind of have that feeling, though. That's why Vancouver made the move as quickly as they did to make Boudreau the coach.
Yeah.
They had to have heard rumblings that Philly was going to make the move they made, and they wanted to get their guy.
Look, with Gronberg, the problem is that teams can't really talk to him, and he can't opt out until the beginning of the 2022-23 season. So, and I think that's why if the Devils are going to make a coaching change, they wait until the end of the year and just let Lindy Ruff get fired at the end of the year so they can talk to Gronberg and bring him in. That's just my personal opinion. Unless things really, really change in New Jersey, Lindy Ruff's seat is getting warmer and warmer. and if it's not hot already, because their performances the last several games have not been the greatest. But I agree. Once Gromberg comes over, he's not going back, and he's going to be in the league for the rest of his coaching career because
To
that's
me,
how good he is.
This is me getting maybe overhyping, but especially for an unproven NHL coach. But I have loved so much of watching and seeing how he treats his lineups and how he puts players out with their strengths, that the only reason he'll leave an NHL team is if he gets bored and wants a new opportunity.
It's true. I mean, yeah, but unproven. Look what he's done on the international stage with Sweden.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna say like now Babcock obviously fell off a cliff,
Right?
but
True.
Babcock and what he did in Anaheim and then going to Detroit for that first handful of years is how I view the success of a Grunberg, but it not stopping. Like I can't explain how high I am on this guy. Like it's, man, whatever team gets him might convert me to a fan. Unless that team somehow happens to be Boston, Pittsburgh, or Montreal. They can get bent.
No, that's true. Okay, can we have like a quick 30-second moment? Just a quick 30-second moment. And just appreciate what happened tonight with Trevor Zegras. Just
Oh
yeah,
my
we're gonna
God.
throw that on the. We're gonna throw that. I'm gonna try and get that on the screen here in a minute.
You
actually,
almost have to.
Bro, that was
we're gonna put this on the
good.
screen. We're
That
gonna
was
put this on the screen
so
because
good.
UPL, as a preface, Ukko-Pekka Laitinen is making his first start of the season for the Buffalo Sabres after
Poor
the
guy.
injury to Malcolm Subban.
Who they just traded for, by the way.
Yeah,
He's
good job.
He's played it. They got him for free at the end of the day. Future considerations means it's free.
True, free.
So he's playing well. And then Trevor Zegras decides, you know what? Let's have some fun with this kid. So there's the preface to what's about to be shown on this screen for those watching. For those listening, you need to find the video. Go check this out.
It's dirty.
There's going to be no audio, but
You don't need audio for this.
You don't need audio to see this. Yo,
oh my God. We're just gonna
freeze frame.
We're just gonna play this. All right.
Bro.
Look, you think he's gonna Michigan it? He flips it over and Milano bats it out of the air.
That's ridiculous.
Now, there could be the argument that Milano's stick is slightly above the crossbar here.
It's
but
close.
I don't care. I don't care how high it is across crossbar.
You got to count that at that point.
This converts, you count it.
Well, what was
what are you gonna do? You can't blame the goalie on this. There is no defense to this because you don't expect it.
And you clearly see the Buffalo Sabres defenseman think he's gonna pull the Michigan off.
Even everybody thought it. The announcers thought it. Like everyone.
Yep. And he's just like, what the?
Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, because if you think about it, you're looking at the two defenders, and they're just as stunned as we are. We're like, huh?
You can't do anything other than just shake your head and go, well, crap. And it was a great move. Like, it happens. It happens. Other than that, I mean, goal of the year at this point.
Oh,
at this point in the season, it's 100% the goal of the year.
Forget what McDavid did. This is goal of the year.
Yeah, McDavid. See, the thing is, I've become numb to McDavid.
Right.
It's just normal. Tell me
everybody's doing the 1-on-4 thing anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tell me when McDavid does 1-on-4, but he uses the other end of the stick to control the puck through it and score.
Yeah.
Then McDavid will impress me. Now it's just if he doesn't do the 1-on-4 and score, then McDavid's having an off year or off night. It's kind of like when Draisaitl doesn't score. What a bust he is on a night he doesn't score.
Right? I know, seriously.
It took 21 games for Draisaitl to fall below 1 goal per game.
That's ridiculous.
21 games.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, man. Realistically, think about this. I had this conversation the other day. You know, you could make an argument that Leon Draisaitl is the best player on that team.
100%. At this point, people are talking about Ovechkin. Draisaitl's going to pass him. If Draisaitl keeps this production up, and there's no reason to believe he won't, and Draisaitl is why China will lose 20-0 to Germany if the NHL players are there.
Oh yeah, Draisaitl's just going to go nuts. I mean,
Draisaitl will score the most goals in
not
single
to
game
mention
history.
like the other guys that are
5
in
goals,
the
6
league.
goals in a period. Could Draisaitl get a hat trick in the first period easily?
It's not even a period thing. You were talking minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Wow. Once you go full Grubauer, you cannot go back.
No.
Yeah, he's something else. That team is stellar to watch. So we've talked about Philly. We've talked about Vancouver.
We talked about it. We haven't talked about the end of a losing streak, which is going to happen.
Where do we see the next major move coming in this league, though?
I mean,
I don't think though it should. Seattle needs to get rid of Haxtell, but
you just don't want Haxtell.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I agree.
Guy just doesn't want Haxtell in the league.
No, he's terrible, and their GM isn't any better. Like Seattle.
That is true.
Seattle is.
I give him that.
Already
in
my
Scott
mind.
Stevens would agree 100%. You know,
yeah, definitely Scott Stevens would agree.
In my mind, Seattle is in Atlanta Thrasher territory with their management decision, like expansion Thrasher territory because of how bad their decisions are. The NHL set them up to succeed the way the Knights did, and they botched it in every way they can imagine, and they deserve all of that happens to them. So get bent, Seattle.
Here you go. We're gonna throw the college football reference out there just for Jim.
All right.
They cougared it.
Yes, they did.
For those that don't know, yes, in my not so previous life, because I do a lot of college football, there were many nights of staying up until, for me, and this was late for me even, 11:30 Pacific time, because I lived out in California, watching Washington State football, finding new ways to lose well before losing in brutal ways was in vogue. So, I mean, look, it's been crazy, and look, there's a lot of games even tonight, and there's a lot of season to go. And we often, I guess we're getting conditioned into that now, guys, because it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's still like 3/4 of a season
left.
Go.
So we're gonna cut in with some breaking news that we need to talk about. Yesterday, it was announced that Neil Pionk was suspended for 2 games for the knee on Rasmus Sandin, which was terrible. Now, about 20 minutes ago, half hour ago, Spets is suspended 6 for his retaliation on it. Are you kidding me? The fact to me, like, that was as dirt. The knee on knee, there's no excuse for. And if I'm Spets, I'm retaliating in the same way if you do that to my teammate.
Do we have a wheel graphic?
We do eventually need a wheel of justice.
We do need a wheel of justice, because I want to talk about this real quick since we went to this route.
We can easily, for next week, we'll bring out a wheel. We'll talk about it off air.
Let's talk about this. How does Connor McDavid not even get a hearing or fined for the hit that he had on Kempe that led to a 5-minute major for boarding and a game misconduct? Any other player in the league, that's an automatic suspension.
You know what's weird and surreal about that hit, though? Did you notice like Anze Kopitar just going like, oh, I'm going to kill that. Oh, it's McDavid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he stopped midstream. Like he's about to clock him, and all of a sudden, and then even to be fair with this, though, and I agree with you, Jim, with McDavid, but even McDavid was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like he really did have like that sort of Spicoli moment from Fast Times in Ridgemont High, where it's just like, whoa, what did I do? And but again, I mean, it's like you just can't do that. You just can't.
I have some thoughts on that, and I'm gonna save it because I'll go off. We only have like 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Hey.
So we'll talk next week about possible changes because we had,
Ooh.
and when I say we had a lot to say, I had a lot to get off my chest about these two moves.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I mean, look.
Because we all know where it's going to go. Because the NHL doesn't surprise me anymore with their decisions. Like, even with the suspension, I don't know
It's
why
pretty
I should be
predictable.
surprised about anything this league does.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, look, best of
True.
6 games. I think that's a little excessive. I thought it'd be 4 or 5, to be honest. Like 6 games. I mean, any other, guys are going to defend their teammates, and the way, and you saw it in the playoffs with Perry, with Toronto, the way he went after him, even though it was an accident with Tavares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And now you appreciate seeing that. The fact that we've seen far worse get slaps on the wrist, no suspension. Like, to me, the biting probably deserves to be more than that.
Yeah, 2 games or 3 games, whatever it was. Like,
It was 5.
5 games.
5.
Like, 10 games, you should have had automatic 10
minimum.
games for biting.
Like, they're so inconsistent with their
I mean,
decisions.
remember Clarkson got 10, Jim, for just leaving the bench?
Yeah, exactly.
But
You get 10
that
games.
was a rule.
I know, it's a rule, but still, even then, it's like he didn't even get to do anything.
Yeah,
Now,
he
at
didn't
that
even-
point, if
just
you
got
get off the
bench.
bench, you know you're 10. If you know you're 10, you might as well just have some fun.
Yeah,
with
that always made me laugh. It's like, you ask people, it's like, well, shouldn't you just done something anyway? Just because
Yeah, you
you're
should've.
going on
Earn
an
your
extended
keep.
vacation.
But we're going to wrap it up there. This has been December 6th, the Tuesday, December 6th, 2021 edition of FPH Weekly. You can find Jim on the Twitter at Jim Behringer, Chris at Chris Wassel DFS, myself at Mike Straw Media. We will be back next Tuesday night, same time, same place. Until next time, take care and have a great one.
Yo, happy Pearl Harbor Day.